The United States has just captured the Venezuelan president Nicolás Maduro and his wife after the massive operation in Caracas overnight, and they have been flown out of the country. According to Trump, U.S. forces first launched massive strikes inside Venezuela's capital at around 2 a.m. on the night, wherein at least 7 explosions were heard in Caracas, accompanied by low-flying aircraft and power outages. Then, U.S. forces carried out a special operation, in which Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife were taken into custody and flown outside the country. U.S. officials have not yet released operational specifics nor any information about where they have taken Nicolás Maduro. The Venezuelan government called it an imperialist attack and urged citizens to take to the streets. It was not immediately clear who was running the country, and Maduro's whereabouts were not immediately known. However, this marks a significant escalation between the two countries, as Caracas declared a state of emergency and mobilized forces in response. We'll continue to update as more verified information becomes available.
Well, we ain't even 3 days into 2026 and America has gone into a sovereign nation and kidnapped their fucking president and his wife. As last night, the U.S. conducted military strikes and covert operations with special forces, aka Delta Force, and sent in Black Hawk helicopters with Delta Force Army Special Forces to go and kidnap the Venezuelan president, all while attacking key and pivotal points and bases and airports within Venezuela with air.
I want to say this, right? Kidnap, I guess, but they're planning to have him stand trial. So I don't know if I would still call that kidnapping with the plan to stay trial. Some would call it arresting, but regardless, right? And you can look up the information. I want to talk about this where first off, I want to say this. I'm critical of the government's foreign policies. I think we should 100% stay out of other countries. Don't give a shit. We should not care about the Middle East, Ukraine, anything, right? Any of those places. We shouldn't care about outside of the country. We should focus on the country, our country, America first. We should focus on America first. But this is the problem we have, okay? You can't on one hand say, oh, let's support Palestine. Let's support Ukraine. Let's support what's happening outside of your country. And then when America does, but again, they do how they think it, right? When the government does how they think, whoever they want to support, or, they want to interfere in other countries, now you complain. Literally, like during the whole thing about Trump's deportations of illegal immigrants, we constantly said, oh, you know what? We need to take care of illegal immigrants, right? We need to care about them. We need to do whatever we can for, human rights and all this stuff. Well, guess what? U.S. government is doing the same thing. That's what they're doing, right? This is for the Venezuelan people, right? Capturing, arresting, and putting on trial what the U.S. government thinks as a terrible person. This is the problem, right? When you constantly try to push, oh, we should care about what's happening outside of our borders, guess what? Well, people you don't like will use that also as an excuse. Okay? You can't on one hand say that, oh, we need to care about Ukraine, we need to care about Palestine, and then outside of the U.S., right, borders, places outside of the border, our borders, and then when the U.S. does, you complain about it, right? Because this is the thing where, how do you think, okay, sometimes you can rectify things happening in another nation, right? A nation that you have no power over. How do you think governments do that? War, takeovers, arrests, things like that, kidnapping, right? That's how, right? You interfere in other nations. To be honest, I've said this before, I've been critical of it. I think the U.S. should not care what's happening outside of its borders. 100%, in my opinion. They shouldn't. I don't care what's happening. They shouldn't care what's happening in the Middle East. We shouldn't send troops over there. We shouldn't send weapons, money, whatever, outside of the U.S. I'm sorry. But when people want to support Palestine, Ukraine, all stuff, guess what? Now you leave it open where U.S. can pick and choose. Oh, you know what? You want us to support whatever? Okay, we will. Now we're supporting, right? We're supporting a country. Supposedly these are terrible people. Well, this is what you're doing, right? And that's the problem. I just no, America first. We should care about our own people before we even think about anyone else. Okay, that's me being consistent. We should not care about anything outside of our borders. We shouldn't. So for me, it's like I don't really know what details about Venezuela. I don't live there, so I don't know if the guy's a bad person or what. But I don't care. I'm sorry. If he was a bad person, they should have revolted. Right? The people should have done it themselves. Every country, right? Palestine, Ukraine. Well, I'm sorry. You should do it yourself. You should protect your country yourself. You should, better your country yourself. So that's my opinion on all the stuff. I really don't like. Again, I said I don't like what Trump is doing because I think we shouldn't care. Right? If they were let's say if they were, sending drugs into our country across our borders, well, when you see a ship coming close, bomb it then. Right? Not far, but if they're coming close, bomb it, because I think we could do that. I'm pretty sure we could do that. So that's my thing, right? If it enters or is close to our borders, okay, do what you got to do. Outside other countries, that's not.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolás Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when he tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States. And the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy. But instead, he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody. But don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that, I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Rundown on Venezuela. Venezuela is the person standing in front of the Cybertruck, and America is the party who is driving the Cybertruck. I hope this helps. No, but that must be a violation of extraterrestrial law. Oh, so borders now matter. Borders now matter profoundly. No human being is illegal also applies to the American military. That also applies to American special forces. No human being is illegal. So now it's an issue when military-aged men cross an international border to extract resources from a country. Now that's actually a pretty big deal. A pretty big issue. Venezuela as a nation was actually built by immigrants. And that would include, I think, American Special Forces. Have you considered that maybe American Special Forces will give that country some cultural enrichment? Think of how seasoned Venezuelan food will be once our Special Forces get there to extract their resources. Think of how much better the country will be. Consider the fact that we're all on a big blue spinning marble, and none of this matters. None of this matters.
This is a message for my American friends watching the news today in English. There is a serious inaccuracy in the coverage. Venezuela is not undergoing a regime change. Venezuela already has a democratically elected president, Edmundo González. He is the president. Nicolás Maduro is not the president. He never was. He stole the last election and led a criminal organization linked to terrorism and drug trafficking, El Cartel de los Soles. And today, thanks to the vision and courage of the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, the decisive leadership of the President Donald Trump, and the actions of Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, the United States has finally recognized a fundamental truth. Protecting our hemisphere from terrorism, drug cartels, and authoritarian ideologies is a matter of national security for the United States.
I keep seeing this notion that the United States president doesn't have the authority to conduct military operations without congressional authority, but the United States Constitution says otherwise. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, better known as the Vesting Clause, declares that all the democratic will of the entire nation shall be vested in a president, singular. It also establishes that the president is the only individual in the entire American government that has full inherent authority over the armed forces. That means that the commander-in-chief can deploy troops anywhere in the world without a formal declaration of war, without authorization from the legislative branch. Even when Congress attempted to limit the president's power to commit troops, it wasn't able to fully answer the question of whether the president needs to seek congressional authority before conducting military operations like it did last night. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 actually allows the president to conduct these military operations without telling Congress. All it's required to do is that within 48 hours of conducting these military operations, it has to notify and report to Congress. The minute that the military operations begin, the president has about 60 days to receive full authorization from Congress to continue to do so. If it doesn't get it, then it's required to withdraw its troops. It means that President Trump had full constitutional authority to conduct military strikes and a military operation in a sovereign nation like Venezuela yesterday.